Hey guys, it's so good to be back. I'm so excited to be making content again. I decided to go ahead and post a review of RuneScape 3 Mobile. It's been out for a long time on Android, but it just recently, a few months ago, came out on Apple, and I've been playing it and recording the footage ever since it came out. I played it the day it was released, and I've been recording footage ever since then. But I didn't want to upload anything because honestly, I was feeling guilty that the next episode of Oldschool versus RuneScape 3 hadn't come out yet, and I just didn't want to post any RuneScape content until I posted that episode. I had already posted another episode of Bite Sized because I knew I could get that out quick, but I just didn't want to post any more RuneScape content until I was able to get that next episode of Oldschool versus RuneScape 3 finished and get that out. And you might be saying, well, that episode's not out. Why are we seeing this right now? Well, that's because the next episode of Oldschool vs. RuneScape 3 is done. It's completely done. It's finished. It's uploaded to YouTube, and it's been scheduled to premiere on October 11th at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And it's going to be a YouTube premiere, which means that live chat will be enabled, and I'm actually going to be watching it with you guys, and I'm going to be chatting, so please go check that out. I'm so excited to be back, and I really hope that you guys are able to watch the premiere and chat with me in the comments. I'm so excited to be with you guys again. I missed creating content for you guys, and I missed talking to you guys. That was my favorite part of this, honestly, is just meeting new people and connecting with you guys, so I'm excited to be back. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to give my thoughts on RuneScape 3 Mobile. Oldschool RuneScape Mobile has been out for a long time by this point, and I never really did a review of that because, I don't know, like, people were already playing it, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. RuneScape, I think, really lends itself to the mobile format because it's a point-and-click game. So, you know, the tapping thing, it really translates well, and I love that both games, Oldschool RuneScape Mobile and RuneScape 3 Mobile, are cross-platform. So I can play with someone who's playing on their computer and I'm playing on mobile, and I think that's awesome. I think if it wasn't like that, the mobile game wouldn't be as good because you're basically not playing regular RuneScape and you wouldn't be able to play with your friends. So to me, that's a big deal. So I haven't made a review about Oldschool because I didn't really think it was necessary. It's really good. There really aren't that many limitations because Oldschool RuneScape is a little more limited anyway, since it's the older version of the game. And when I say limited, I don't say that in a negative way. I just mean it doesn't have as many bells and whistles as RuneScape 3 does. And I think people who love Oldschool will agree with me on that. It just doesn't have as much to it. And that's not a negative thing per se. That's just how it is, because it's an older version of the game. So I think it is a lot simpler. So when you move it over to the mobile format, it's a little bit easier to just kind of move over. And it works really well. It's really easy to use. I have a whole series where I made a new account and I only play that account on Oldschool RuneScape Mobile. And it's called Bite Size, so if you haven't seen it, a little card will pop up at the top that will link to it. It's really fun to do that because I kind of do it in my spare time. That being said, that version of the game is great, and I didn't feel like I needed to make a review for it. But I do kind of feel like I should make a review for this one because RuneScape 3 is very complicated. Like, there's a lot in it. There's all kinds of different things that don't even exist in Oldschool. In fact, that's a problem that a lot of Oldschool fans have with RuneScape 3 is they think there's just way too much in it, that the content is just overwhelming, and that it just really just makes you not want to play, to them. I like a lot of the content. I do think there's a lot, and I definitely don't take advantage of all of it. I've just kind of learned that you can find what you like and then just play that, but you don't have to worry about playing all of it. Now, I know there are some people who might be completionists, and they want to do everything, and they want to master everything, and those people might be very overwhelmed by RuneScape 3, because there's just so much to do. But I'm not one of those people, so that never really bothered me. However, there's so much in RuneScape 3 that I was always wondering, I was like, how are they going to move that to a mobile format? Honestly, I thought they would never make a mobile version of RuneScape 3 until they announced it. And I was like, wow, okay. I guess we'll see how this plays out, because I just thought there's way too much to it. There's just so much more nuance to the way that game operates. And again, I'm not saying that makes it better. I'm just saying there's so many more subtle mechanics and things that have to be worked in that I was just thinking, how's this going to work in a mobile format? I have no idea. So when it finally came out, I was excited to play it. It had been on Android for a while, but I have an iPhone, so I wasn't able to play it. And when it finally came out, I was so excited. I downloaded it right away. I think I might have even been at work, but I just downloaded it right away and played it. And the first day, it was very buggy. And I don't think that has as much to do with the software as it does the amount of people. I think a ton of people hopped on and played it when it came out. And I just kept getting booted out of the game. The game was lagging really bad, even though I had a really good internet connection. The game would freeze and I would have to close the app and relaunch it. So I kind of just gave up that first day and I was like, okay, I don't know if this is bugs in the game or just a lot of people in here, but I'm gonna wait a few days and give it another shot. So I did that. I waited a few days and then I gave it another chance and it ran much more smoothly. So I really do think it was just a lot of people that were playing all at once. That being said, there could have been a ton of bugs day one that they patched out, but I think it was probably just how many people were playing all at once. But I did hop on a few days later and I gotta say it was really fun. I was able to have a lot of fun. They introduced, they have microtransactions, obviously, but in the mobile version, they have an option where you can buy membership for 1 day for $1. And I was like, well, that's great because I want to play in members' worlds and do things only members can do, but I didn't know if I wanted to commit to a membership fully for that account because I didn't know how much I was going to play on mobile. I wasn't even sure yet if I was going to do a RuneScape 3 bite size. So I didn't want to commit to like a monthly payment. But then when I saw that you could just, for $1, have a membership for 1 day, I was like, that's perfect. I'll just pay $1 every time I play, which isn't like every day. So like if I played like once a month, that's $1 a month. That's great. So I just would pay $1 and then I would have membership and I'd be able to do stuff like Waterfall Quest or go access the full map. So I thought that was really great. I mean, a lot of people might be like, well, that's just another form of microtransactions, which it is, obviously. But I don't know, because you were buying membership, you weren't buying anything cosmetic or you weren't buying something that would let your XP go up a lot faster. It didn't really bother me. It was membership and it was like a 1 day option, which I haven't found on their website. They might have that now, but it seems like that might be a mobile only thing. And I thought it was great, especially for me, a content creator who wants to access the member world, but I'm not necessarily going to play every day. That was great to me. But that's a really small thing. I just thought I would mention it since it was one of the first things that I discovered, but that's something I really liked about RuneScape 3 Mobile. Another thing that I liked was skilling is really easy because it's just tapping and waiting, especially the AFK things. I would just put my phone on my desk and I would just set my character to work doing something AFK and I'd just work and I'd just glance down every once in a while. And then once my inventory was full or the task was completed, I would just tap again and do something else. And it wasn't really distracting. I didn't have to have it up on my computer. I think if it was up on my screen on my computer, I would be very distracted and I'd basically be playing RuneScape and not working. But because it was on my phone and it was a smaller screen and it was down to the side, I wasn't distracted. I was able to work and just kind of glance at it every once in a while, and that was really great. And the skilling was easy, like I said. It was just tapping, and you just tap and hold like on Oldschool mobile, and it was great. It worked just like it does on the computer, and I had a lot of fun. That being said, here's my first negative thing. Moving in RuneScape 3 is much harder. Like moving in Oldschool RuneScape mobile, sometimes you run into issues because it's mobile and your screen is a lot smaller. But in RuneScape 3, it's a way worse problem because the camera is able to move a lot closer to your character, which in overall, I really like that. Like when I play on the computer, I like the camera settings a lot better in RuneScape 3 than I do in Oldschool, especially for content creation. I can't get as close to my character in Oldschool as I can in RuneScape 3, and I like how in RuneScape 3 the camera can come all the way down in front of you and it doesn't get stuck just at that upward angle like in Oldschool RuneScape. That's very superficial though, and that would never be my argument why person should or shouldn't play one of these games. But because the camera is so close, it makes moving in RuneScape 3 Mobile very difficult. And the minimap is tiny, and there's no way, as far as I can tell, that you can make it bigger. And that's another thing, your layout is fixed in mobile because it's different. You have little icons you can tap, and it's not all open like it normally is because you don't have as much space. So it is limited, it is locked in. I don't mind that it's locked in, except for the fact that the minimap is tiny, and I can't really tap anything because the minimap is so small. If I try to tap, I'll either tap somewhere on the ground outside the minimap, I'll like misclick, or I'll tap somewhere that I didn't quite want to go because the minimap is so tiny, I'll misclick on the minimap. And maybe my fingers are just too big, but it's just so small that it makes it hard to move around. And then even if you try to tap in the world and not use the minimap, because the screen is so small, there's only so far out you can tap. Even if you zoomed the camera out, there's only so far out you can tap. So you're tapping a lot to move. And even then, I found myself misclicking things a lot more on mobile than I do on the computer. It's just not as precise. So I would accidentally click somewhere else and my character would like totally about face and reroute, and I'd be like, no, I don't want to go there. And then of course I'd try to click again and I'd misclick again. Maybe this might have just been something I was struggling with, I don't know, but I found moving very difficult. So really what I ended up doing most when I played RuneScape 3 Mobile was like just skilling, because I could just kind of stand still for a little bit and do things. But I did do some quests because I was trying to get some footage for Bite Sized. So I did do some quests and stuff like that, and I think I got a little bit better at moving. I think I abandoned using the minimap altogether and just was clicking in the world. Sometimes I think I would click on the minimap just out of habit, and it would not go well for me, and I'd have to like reroute again. But moving was just really difficult. Now, one thing that I thought was going to be very challenging was combat in RuneScape 3 Mobile. But really, it wasn't, because you know, I mean, you can set up all your combat stuff. I still haven't quite figured out how to set all that up in mobile because, like I said, the layout is different. How you access everything is different. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. So I just didn't mess with it. I just left it all on its default, which is not the best thing to do in RuneScape 3. But for now, I just left everything on its default because I couldn't quite figure out how to change it. But really, combat wasn't that difficult. It was just tapping. Especially because I do have it on Revolution, which means my attacks will trigger automatically, but I can also trigger them manually if I wanted to. But because it was on Revolution, I could just tap on an enemy and basically it would take care of it itself. I would open up the attacks in case I wanted to trigger one myself, but you know, since I made a new account, most of the things I was fighting were lower level, so the combat didn't really require that kind of, you know, overhead. I didn't really need to like get involved very much at all. So it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. I expected that because combat in RuneScape 3 is a lot more complicated, that it would be harder, but it really wasn't. It was pretty easy. So that was one thing that I was pleasantly surprised by. Another thing I'll say is the graphics were fantastic. I was worried how well the graphics would translate over and how well my phone would be able to handle it, honestly. But other than that first day when I tried to play when it was first released, I had no issues. It was great. It would play smoothly. The graphics still looked great. I was really impressed with how well they were able to optimize those graphics for the mobile. I didn't notice any quality degradation. I'm sure there is some, but I'm sure having it on a smaller screen and having the graphics all squished down definitely helped with some of that. But I didn't notice any quality degradation, and it looked really good. The new icons that they made, because all the icons are different with the layout on mobile, so all the icons look great. I did kind of have to stumble through them and figure out, because some of them don't look like they do on the computer at all. So I kind of had to stumble through it and figure out just what the heck these symbols represent, but I eventually got through it. But I think the look is great. I think they really capture the look of how the game looks on the computer, and you don't really lose anything, and it's great. The controls, just like in old school RuneScape, other than moving, are well translated. You know, tapping and holding to bring up the right click. It works really well, and I never really had any issues with that. I already talked about how movement was a little difficult, but everything else, like selecting or doing the right-click option menu, it was really easy to do. There were some times where I would pull up a menu and I would try to tap on something and it wouldn't really work. And I didn't know if that was just a glitch or if it was because the menu was so small that the option I was trying to tap on was tiny and I wasn't actually tapping it, even though from my perspective I was tapping right on it. So I don't know if like the box that they've set up to be tapped on is just too small or if there was just a glitch. I don't know. I did encounter that with the menus, that sometimes I would have to tap several times before I would actually get anything. So again, I don't know if it's a glitch or if it was just too small and I wasn't able to tap it. But other than that, like navigating through the menus and playing the game, like tapping and tap and holding, all of that was great. So overall, I would say this is a really good translation from the computer to mobile. And I would say it's worth a play if you like RuneScape 3 and you kind of want to play RuneScape 3 maybe casually, or if you're on the road or something and you want to play it, go ahead and play it. I think it's great. It's a great way to play the game. I would say it's probably not good if you want to actually have a RuneScape 3 session and you really want to grind or get into some quests or really do any kind of intricate things in the game, because like I said, movement is kind of tough and some of the layout is not great. I don't know if I would go bossing in RuneScape 3 mobile, and that's, coming from me, someone who's never really done any bossing in RuneScape 3, but I know that a lot of people who go bossing will have a special layout just for bossing where they can really spread everything out. And you can't change your layout in RuneScape 3 mobile, which I understand why. There's not much space, so they've kind of locked you into a very specific mobile layout. But I just don't know how well you'd be able to boss on mobile. Maybe it's easier than I think it would be, but I wouldn't recommend it unless somebody else who's better than me tries it and they figure out a way to do it. But I wouldn't recommend it. I think this is better for, like I said, when I was working and I just wanted to pull RuneScape 3 up and do some grinding, some AFK grinding while I was working. It's great for that. Just kind of like old school RuneScape mobile is the same way. That one's a little easier to get more into the depths of the game because, like I said, there aren't as many intricacies in old school RuneScape as there is in RuneScape 3. But this one, RuneScape 3 mobile, I really would say it's probably best just for some casual play, maybe while you're doing something else. This would be the best way, I think, to watch a movie and play RuneScape 3 at the same time because, it's just on your phone. You can really just play it casually while you do something else. Another thing I'll say that I almost forgot to say, and this is the case with RuneScape 3 and with old school RuneScape, it really, really drains your battery. And it makes my phone really hot. My phone will heat up. And with old school RuneScape, I've played that one more. That's why I'm bringing it up. Old school RuneScape, I would start to, the game would start to lag and it would start to freeze because my phone would get so hot. So that's something I don't love. And at first I thought, well, maybe that's just because it's a game meant for the computer, so it's just too much for the phone to handle. But then I played Adventure Quest 3D on the phone, which was a game that was made for the computer. Now that game is not as graphically advanced as RuneScape 3, but it is more advanced than old school RuneScape graphically, and that game never heated up my phone. My phone would stay perfectly cool. I could run it forever, and it wouldn't kill my battery really fast. So I don't know what it is about these games, but they maybe just haven't been optimized as well as they could be. I don't know what it is. I'm not an app developer or a game developer, so I really don't know, but I will say it does heat up my phone really bad and it really kills my battery, so I basically can't play unless I'm connected to power or else my phone will die probably within an hour. So that is one thing to say also, but I will say this game is definitely worth a play on mobile. If you already like RuneScape 3, or maybe if you want to give it a try, but you really just kind of want to casually give it a try mobile. It's pretty fun. It's really easy to play. There are little mechanical glitches here and there that I talked about, but for all I know, those things might be patched out later, but even if they're not, the game as it stands now is still pretty fun, and I would definitely recommend it. Alright guys, thanks for checking out this video. I really appreciate you guys hanging in with me. I hope that you enjoyed this video. This was really one to kind of, tide everybody over until that next episode of Old School RuneScape versus RuneScape 3 comes out, which is going to be very soon. So don't forget, it's going to be October 11th at 6 p.m. Central, and I'm going to be watching it with you guys and chatting in the live chat. So please check it out. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to be making content again. Thanks in large part to my editor, Josue, who edited this one and probably cut out a bunch of false starts and stuff in my audio where I had to start over. Thank you, Josue. I really appreciate it. Without him, I wouldn't be able to make more content, and I don't know if I would have been able to come back as soon as I did, which is saying something because it's been over a year since I've posted Old School versus RuneScape 3, but without him, I don't think I would have been able to make it back even now. So thank you so much, Josue, and thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.